We finally have the first excerpts from Kamala Harris's memoir, 107 Days, about her time as the Democratic presidential nominee in 2024. And she has finally done what she should have done during the campaign, which is throw Joe Biden under the bus, rhetorically speaking. And it's not a total and complete throwing under the bus, but it mostly gets there. I want to read a couple excerpts from what she said. First, she was recounting, well, let's get to the most important part, and then I'll go back to the other stuff. Here's the paragraph you need to know. It's Joe and Jill's decision. We all said that like a mantra, as if we'd all been hypnotized. Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego and individual's ambition. It should have been more than a personal decision. Yes, to that 1,000%. I wrote and said that during the campaign any number of times, that the risk, even knowing what we knew about Biden, not even knowing, this is before the June debate where we saw the level of his infirmity, at least at times. Even before then, I always say, nominating an 81-year-old man who more than half the country thinks is too old to run again was a massive and ridiculous gamble for the Democratic Party to take, particularly given what they said the threat from Donald Trump represented, right? Given what Trump's threat was, why would you risk someone who was old, was showing signs of being old, and half the country thought was too old, right? So I think Harris is right. The fact that she never said that during the campaign is definitely one of the reasons she lost. It's not the only reason she lost. I'm not sure she would have won even if she had said it, but I do think it is one of the reasons she's lost. There's more that's worth visiting in this excerpt. She talks about traveling to Houston to meet with first responders and survivors from Hurricane Beryl, and then watching Joe Biden speak to the nation from the Oval Office that evening. I want to read you what she says. This speaks to, I think, how Kamala Harris actually felt about Joe Biden and her place in the White House. All right, here's Harris. I watched the speech at the hotel that night. It was a good speech, drawing on the history of the presidency to locate his own place within it. But as my staff later pointed out, it was almost 9 minutes into the 11-minute address before he mentioned me. I want to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She is experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and leader for our country. And that was it. Those final words, those last four words are Harris. And that was it. And I think that's really, really telling, right? She always felt lesser than. She always felt like the Biden and the Bidens did not give her the proper amount of respect, the proper amount of credit, the right assignments to step in and be president when he left the White House. And I do think she has diagnosed the problem correctly. This was too big a decision to let Joe Biden's, in her words, ambition and ego make the decision. It just was. It was a massive and complete risk. Now, I will note, Harris says in this excerpt that she never saw signs of Biden's like failing or infirmity or anything like that. She basically says when he got enough sleep, he was great. When he was tired, signs of his age started to show, and that's how she explains away the debate performance. Now, to me, that's a little bit of a stretch. I know he was also sick at the time, but that debate performance, I mean, he was totally and completely out of it. I went back and watched it recently. I mean, it was really bad. So what I would say is, what Harris is doing here is trying to reframe public opinion about her and about her relationship with Biden and about her role in the 2024 campaign. I think because she wants to run for president again. Look, she ruled out running for governor of California, a race I think she probably would have won. I would assume that means she is probably thinking hard about running for president again. I think she knows that if she is seen as aiding and abetting Joe Biden or being attached to Joe Biden, that's a non-starter in a Democratic primary in 2028. So I think this is her attempt to say, yeah, I didn't agree with everything that happened. I sort of stood by, and maybe I shouldn't have, but I did. Again, I just want to read that last paragraph. I think this is really important. It was Joe and Jill's decision. We all said that like a mantra, as if we had all been hypnotized. Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. That is something that Harris would have benefited from saying a long time ago. I don't know if it helps her now, but I do think it is the truth. That it was just too big a gamble. Knowing what they knew about Joe Biden, it was too big a gamble to take. They took it and they lost. All right, I ask you to do one thing for me. Hit that subscribe button. You'll get this kind of content every single day, and I'll continue to grow as an independent news creator. Thanks, everybody. Take care.